Hi, this is Mike O'Brien. I'm Senior Content Manager for Multi-Channel Merchant. And here we are in the end of July, just about the beginning of August. It's warm outside in most parts of the United States, but at a lot of warehouses, distribution centers, people are scrambling and getting busy and gearing up for peak season, the traditional period from roughly Thanksgiving through Christmas time, where a lot of the sales and a lot of operations activity takes place. And in some businesses, it could be as much as a third of their businesses transacted during that period of time. So obviously a big deal, and a lot's happening in preparation for that. I'm sure even much earlier than this, but now really starting to gear up. And to that end, Multi-Channel Merchant on this Thursday, will have a virtual event called the Peak Season Summit, which addresses all the complexities, all the challenges that merchant companies face in dealing with peak season and making sure that everything flows smoothly and product gets out to the door on time, and the facilities are properly staffed and everything's kind of in place. And I'm talking today with Dana Thomas, who's the Director of Operations for the Gulf Warehouse, who is one of our speakers for the Peak Season Summit. How are you doing today, Dana?
Great, thanks.
Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about, if just explain a little bit, kind of at a high level, about the Gulf Warehouse's approach to taking the demand forecast that you have from your sales team, your marketing, merchandising teams, and then uses that to sync up with the labor, how you're going to get the labor in place, the hires in place you need to handle the peak season.
Okay, great. Yeah, we definitely work directly with our marketing department and our merchandising departments. We happen to all be on the same site, so that makes it very convenient for us. But we will take their projections and use that as a percentage. And if it's a percentage up or percentage down, what their projections are, we use that, the number that they give us, to kind of zone in on what we think we're going to need for labor. So we'll use what we used last year for labor, and then the percentages, the changes that they give us to make our future projections. And then we also rely on kind of the correction of errors that we did from the previous year to make sure that we're not repeating any of the problems that we had last year, to just make it smooth, a nice smooth flow.
Okay, and then a little bit more specifically, can you talk about how you get from the other parts of the organization and convert those forecasts into the labor needs that you have to for the busy time of year?
Okay, yeah, we actually we use a basic, like an Excel spreadsheet, and we do a daily, weekly, and a monthly projection on our forecasts. So we try to zone it in, though, as accurately as possible. We'll zone into the day when we get to that day, and plug in the actual orders that we have against the labor that we have to allow us to decide where our team members are going to go in the operation. Most of our team members are cross-trained, so we'll use that formula to decide how many people we need in which department. And then that also allows us to determine how much additional labor we will need with our temp force that day. So we'll use the weekly and the monthly projections to bring them in, and then we can zone in daily. So every morning we make that determination as to where our team members are going to go. So big picture, though, like maybe a little bit of a bigger picture, we make a timeline that also includes all of our inbound department and our inbound labor. So we'll go back as early as October, November, and we look at all of our receiving and inbound operations all the way through our outbound operations. And we will take that big picture with all of our employees as well, and try to figure out where they're going to go day by day, week by week, month by month, all the way through that final push at that Christmas season.
Okay, and then one more question. How do you determine the timeline for your peak season? Does it fluctuate at all, or is it pretty standard year to year? And I also understand, based on the nature of your business, in addition to the traditional period, you also have another peak season in the springtime, because of, obviously, sporting goods, people getting interested in going out and golfing and other outdoor activities as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely have two distinct peak seasons. So the first one that everybody deals with is that holiday peak season. It's going to be the same as anybody else's. So we're looking at that Thanksgiving through or more like that Black Friday through Christmas timeframe. We have noticed that over the years, there's kind of been a trend towards people in our market waiting later and later to purchase. So that does maybe change year over year when we kind of see the swing in the market's activity. Maybe they're waiting for the good deal, they're waiting for that Black Friday deal, and they're not pulling the trigger earlier in the season. So we have seen that trend where the customers are waiting later and later. That's maybe a fluctuation that we see year over year. But for us, our bigger peak is a spring peak, like you mentioned, because we do sell sporting goods. So we get a lull in January, and then we spring right back up in February for our baseball season. And then it's heavy all the way through April. We get into our golf season, and we've stayed heavy all the way through July this year. But it's very dependent on weather. So that's a fluctuation that we can't control. So depending on the weather, our season might start earlier or later, and that'll swing our season by weeks and makes it very challenging. We do rely on temp labor through that season as well, but more than anything, we rely on just cross-training our internal team members so that we can swing back and forth with the weather being a main driver and a main factor in our spring peak. We have to really rely on our internal team members to carry that load and to be able to be very flexible.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dana. And again, want to mention that the Peak Season Summit is going to be held this Thursday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, as I said, Dana is going to be one of the people speaking, and particularly on a little bit of what we talked about today about syncing demand with labor needs. That's one of the 4 sessions we're going to be addressing during the summit. So if you're somebody who's to operations, or you've been at it a long time, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff, a lot of great insights and best practices that can be gleaned from our merchant speakers and that are going to be involved in the summit on this Thursday. So you can come out and join us for that. And again, Dana, thanks again for your time today. Appreciate it and look forward to Thursday.
Great. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.